I'm often asked, how did I eliminate debilitating anxiety and depression from my life? Look, from the time that I was maybe 5, 6 years old, I knew something was wrong. I wasn't happy. I look back at pictures when I was a kid and I wasn't smiling. I always had this face that just showed that I was unhappy. I was miserable. I lived most of my life in a state of misery. Now, sure, I had a lot of good times. I had a lot of fun. I did a lot of crazy things, but I wasn't happy. I wasn't fulfilled. I was just kind of getting through the day to day, doing my best. And my best often was a destructive state. I was very destructive. I was a teenager that didn't care about anything. I wanted to punish everybody else because I felt like I was being punished. I lashed out at the world. And there's two typical paths that we take. Either those of us who become rebels and lash out at the world. We're loud and we're obnoxious and we're troublemakers because what we want is to be heard. We want to be recognized. We need help. But that's often a very destructive and unproductive path. And so I spent my life like that. For 30-some years, I was quite destructive. I was harmful to myself and to others. I did a lot of damage in this world and a lot of damage to myself. And I viewed myself as a monster. I viewed myself as someone unworthy. I didn't deserve. I didn't care. Even though I deeply cared, I put on this facade. I acted like I didn't care as an overcompensation for how much I did care. My needs weren't met. And the people around me, they didn't know how to meet my needs. I didn't know how to meet my needs. I was just struggling. I was in so much pain. I was drowning, and there was no one there to save me. They didn't know how to save me. Maybe they would have tried, maybe they wouldn't have, but they didn't know how. They were doing their best too, trying to manage their own lives. And it's these silent screams that so many of us are familiar with. And we live our life in these states of debilitation. We live our lives crying out through these actions of trying to be heard. I mean, look at all the things going on in the world. Look how loud some of these groups are. They want to be heard. They want to be validated. They want to be known that even though they're making choices that others don't agree with, that they're still valuable, and they want to be shown that they are valued. And I think this rejection, this aspect of rejection, is so damaging, so detrimental to our psyche. It's so detrimental to how we live our lives, and then it just turns into self-rejection. We start rejecting ourselves because we've been taught by the world and by so many that we're not good enough, that we're not worthy, that we don't deserve. It's not true. It's all a bunch of lies. You know, we look at everybody else and we judge ourselves based on what we see outside of ourselves, but everybody else is doing the same thing. But when you really think about it, there is no scale to measure the value of a human being. There's no scale at all. And so we run circles. We run on this continuous, endless cycle of pain and suffering, and it's detrimental to our lives. It's destructive. And the interesting thing is that it's all based on lies. None of it's true. None of it's real. It doesn't have to be true. It doesn't have to be real to be experienced. I mean, we experience things that are not true all the time. We experience things that are not real all the time. Like when you think of a situation that may occur in the future and you start getting anxious about it, or you start getting angry, or you start having these conversations inside your mind, it's not true. It's not real. It's not actually happening. That doesn't stop you from experiencing it. The mind can't decipher the difference between what's real and what's imagined. It just does what it's told. We live in this world of make-believe, and we're the ones creating that. And we're often not creating the lives that we want. We're basing what we create on what everybody else told us to. But they were wrong. They were wrong. And the simple proof is in the fact that it's not working. It's not working. Now, here's when things change. Here's when things truly change. First, you have to believe in the possibility. You have to believe in the possibility that maybe, just maybe, these dysfunctional states, maybe anxiety, maybe depression, maybe many of the mental illnesses, maybe many of the struggles and the challenges and the problems and the difficulties we experience in life, maybe they're choices. I know you didn't choose to have that panic attack. You didn't choose to feel that way. You didn't choose for that situation to happen. But maybe you did, in a way. Maybe there is a part of you that fed on that. Maybe there's a part of you that needed that. Maybe there's a part of you that wanted that for some reason. Oh, I didn't want to feel this way. Well, maybe you did. Maybe there's a payoff. I mean, can you imagine us doing things that really have no motive behind them? No, that's not realistic. Everything we do has a purpose. Every choice we make is a means to an end for our subconscious mind. It's happening for a reason. We're choosing these things. Now, whether we're really consciously aware of what it is we're choosing or not, the choices are still being made by us. And look, it's so easy to say I didn't have a choice, that these people are doing this, and this happened to me, and I didn't want it to. Yeah, that's easy to say. But once we're beyond that point of understanding, once we're beyond the point of relying on someone else to make our choices, typically when we're children, we don't really have many choices when we're children. I mean, we still do have choices, but to a degree. We're very limited as children, but once we're beyond the age of understanding and we're in the age of being able to make our own choices in life, well, then those choices, they lead us to different places, and ultimately they are a product of our choices. If you're in a relationship that you're being mistreated, it's only by your choice that you're still in that relationship. Now, you didn't choose for them to mistreat you, but you get to choose whether you stay there to be mistreated. It doesn't mean that you're to blame for what other people do. It's really, if you want to step into a place of empowerment, you have to completely eradicate blame from your life. Because as long as you're blaming other people, or you're blaming circumstances or situations or life's happenings for the things you go through and how you feel in life, then you remain a victim. And if you remain a victim, then you remain powerless to change it. And if that thing or that person or that situation or that happening in life has power over you and dictates who and how you're going to be and how you're going to experience life, well, then you'd be better off just giving in and giving up, because you have no power to change it, because it has power over you. But when you really step back and think about it, nothing has power over you like that. It's our choices. That's when things change. And so I'm often asked the question, when did things change for me? And it changed when I realized I had a choice. Now, those choices to change don't really become an option for you until you start to understand. Until you start to learn and understand, not this world. We're so busy trying to change our lives outside of us. But your life, our lives, they're not created outside of us. They're created from within. We are creating them. And so if you want to change your life, you have to start with yourself. Stop trying to change the things in your life that you don't like, and start focusing on changing what's creating those things in your life. And that begins with your choices. Look, we don't have control over a lot of things, but the three things that we do have control over, those are the things that will change the whole game. When you realize that you have a choice, here's the three things: thoughts, choices, and action. Now let me back up to thoughts. We don't have direct control over the thoughts that come to our mind. We have thousands, tens of thousands of thoughts that come to our mind every single day, and you don't have control over what those thoughts are. However, you do have control in what you invest your energy and your focus and your attention into. And we call that thinking. So thoughts and thinking are two different things. Thoughts are going to come to your mind automatically without any direct influence. But your thinking, well, that's something you can deliberately control. And yes, I know part of anxiety means you got all of these thoughts running through your mind. Well, those are just thoughts. But you do have a choice in what you invest your energy and your time into. And that's where we start to take control. That's where things start to shift. And based on how we think, is going to determine the choices that we make. And we have control over our choices. Yes, that doesn't mean that you get to choose every single thing that you do, but you do get to predominantly choose your direction in life. You get to choose what you do with your thoughts. You get to choose how you think. You get to choose how you create in your mind. That's free will. Nobody has power to change that. Now, people can tell you things and you're going to be influenced by your environment, but ultimately the choice is yours. And look, if you don't believe in choice, well, then you don't believe in free will. And you don't believe that you get to control your life to a degree, to a large degree. But when you start believing in choice, then you can start making different decisions. And those different decisions are going to lead you into different experiences in your life. So you take charge of your thinking, you start to focus on the things that are going to help you get out of your situations, right? And what we want to do with our thinking, not just to run from what we don't want. And this is huge. This is the shift that we must make. We have to stop focusing on what we don't want. And we need to start creating a vision for ourselves. What do you want? Yeah, I know you don't want to be in that situation. You don't want to be treated that way anymore. You don't want to have those panic attacks. You don't want to feel that way about your past anymore. You don't want to be depressed. You don't want to lay in bed all day. You don't want to do those things. I got you. But the question is, what do you want? We have to create a vision for ourselves. We have to give our minds something to move toward. We have to move towards something. We have to stop running from things because it doesn't work. The proof is in your experience. Running from what you don't want is not the solution. It's not the answer. It doesn't work. Think of it from a strategic standpoint. It's not an effective strategy. So what we have to do is we have to start moving towards something. We have to start feeding that which we want to grow. Because what you focus on, you will feed, and what you feed will always grow. And it doesn't matter if it's your faith, or your fears, or happiness, or troubles. It doesn't matter. Whatever you feed is going to grow. So we have to start feeding those things that we want to grow. Right? We've got to start planting those seeds of what we want instead of nourishing those seeds of things we don't want. So we've got to start taking control of the things that we have control over. And that is our thinking, it is our choices, and then what we do with those, our actions. And we have choice over what we do with what we think. Now, I know anxiety, depression, we have all of these intrusive thoughts, and these things come across our mind we don't want to think about, and they're painful, and they're disturbing, and they're nasty, and they're wrong, and they're bad, and they don't help us, and they're distorted, and they're painful. But what you do with them is all that matters. That's all that matters. And when you start to accept that this is just part of life, right? Look, struggles, challenges, problems, difficulties, pain, suffering, these are just natural occurrences in life. Think about it. Can you think of one person that doesn't experience these things in life, no matter how happy they are, no matter how free they seem to be? They still go through these things. The difference is what they do with them, right? And what they choose to live their life based on. So we have to start taking control over these things. And when we realize that we have a choice, now this doesn't mean it's a single choice that you're going to make. You're going to have to make a lot of choices. And you're going to have to make a lot of choices a lot. You're going to have to do this consistently. Look, if you're not consistent in feeding what you want, it will not grow, especially when you struggle with mental health issues, especially when you struggle with things like anxiety and depression and other disturbances in the mind. You have to feed what you want to grow long enough. Look, if we're 20 feet into hell, we still have to walk 20 feet through hell to get out. And it's difficult. and it's challenging, and it's painful, and it's tough, and it's so many things. But look, you're undefeated in life. There's not a single thing you've been through that you haven't gotten through. Doesn't mean you've gotten through everything the way that you want. Nobody does. We also have to understand that these things that are happening, that there are gifts in those. There are opportunities to grow, to learn, to change, to become better. And this is really the key to changing things like anxiety and depression and how they become choices in our life. We must outgrow them. So many people, they're trying to address the anxiety and the depression themselves, but those are symptoms. Those aren't problems. I get it, they're problematic, but those themselves, they're symptoms. They're letting us know, hey, there's something deeper going on. There's something deeper going on, and it's not outside of us, it's inside of us. We have to look inside of us. We have to recognize our needs haven't been met. And we've got to recognize those needs, we've got to validate those needs, and then we have to step into the place of meeting those needs. We have to learn how to love ourselves. We have to learn how to nurture ourselves. We have to learn how to coach ourselves. We have to learn how to become a good partner to ourselves. Self-love, it's the answer. And love is an action. Look, you can say, oh, I like myself, or you can say anything you want to about yourself, but if you're not backing it up with actions, if you're not prioritizing your mental health, if you're not prioritizing taking care of yourself, if you're saying yes to other people but no to yourself, you're not loving yourself. So many people, they struggle with this because they feel like self-love and taking care of themselves is selfish. Well, then be selfish. Because if you're not taking care of yourself, then you're the one that others have to take care of. Now that to me is selfish. When you're not doing your job and now others have to step in and do it for you. That's selfish. Taking care of yourself isn't selfish, it's necessary. We've got to change the fundamental understandings that we have of ourselves and life if we want to get out of these struggles and these disturbance stages. We have to get out of the fundamental beliefs. We have to change them. We have to recognize that we are valuable. When you say yes to someone else at the expense of yourself, you are essentially saying you are more valuable than me. And it's not true. I know that you may love these people. You may really care for someone, but that doesn't make them more valuable than you. And the best gift that you could ever give anyone, the best thing you could ever do for someone else, is be the best version of yourself for them. That's how you can affect the whole world in a positive way, is by giving to us, giving to the whole world the best version of you, the most empowered version of you. God, we need it. We need you to be the best version of you that you can be. This world needs me to be the best version of me that I can be. It's necessary. It's necessary. It's not just something you should do, something you might want to do. No, it is necessary. It's absolutely necessary that you go and you take care of yourself, and that you grow, and that you become the best version of yourself that you could ever possibly be. And even if you never achieve that, even if you never achieve your full potential, you go out and you strive to do it. You give it everything you got, because at the end of the day, that's what matters. It matters. Your effort is what matters. It's not about whether you win or lose. It's about how you play the game. And you deserve to be happy. You deserve to thrive. You deserve to feel good every day. And let me tell you something. After spending 30-some years miserable, absolutely miserable, in pain and suffering, suicidal ideation, destructive, let me tell you something. It's possible. I wake up every single day now. Every day I wake up with a smile on my face, and it doesn't matter what's going on in my life. It doesn't matter what pain I'm experiencing in my body. It doesn't matter what mental state I'm going through. It doesn't matter if I'm feeling good or not feeling good. It doesn't matter. You can do it. We can all do it. And we must do it. It can happen, but you must first believe in the possibility. And once you believe in that possibility, and you have that hope, I don't care how much you've tried, I don't care how many things you've done, that didn't work. You keep going because there's always something that works. People say, well, I've tried everything. Well, no, you haven't. It's impossible to try everything. But there's something better. Look, I searched for many, many years, and I finally found something. And now that I found that something, now that I've eliminated these things from my life, now I teach them to other people. What a gift this has become. All of my pain, all of my darkness, all of my shadows have now become the light that I get to shine for everyone else. And let me tell you something. There is no gift that compares to that. Not even my own healing compares to the gift of being able to shine my light for other people to change, to grow, to heal, and to become better. Nothing compares to that. And I promise you, if you keep going and you never, ever, ever give up, you will find what you're looking for. I promise you. It takes some time. It took me years. I struggled and I cried and I sweated and I put up so much time and work. And one day it happened. It was like a switch just flipped. And I've seen this many times with people, right? When we're on the verge of giving up, something miraculous happens. That's how it happens. But you must never give up. So we need to believe in the possibility. We need to believe in the possibility. And then we must educate ourselves. We must seek the knowledge. Look, knowledge is power. And knowledge about the self becomes self-empowerment. We need to learn about the mind. We need to learn specifically about the subconscious mind. We need to learn about belief systems and how those belief systems are expressed in our lives. And we need to start to understand the definitions that we've given things in life, because we're experiencing the definitions that we give to things. If you say, oh, this is bad, then you experience it as bad. And someone else can come along behind you and say, oh, no, this is good. And they're going to experience it as good. Not because it's good, not because it's bad, because it's neither. It is whatever to you that you decide it is for you. And that truly is the way life works. You walk outside and you say, oh, it's a beautiful day. There's no such thing as a beautiful day. That's an idea you created in your mind for whatever reason. Maybe it was taught to you. Maybe you decided it. But that idea of beauty, that's why it's subjective. That's why everybody is beautiful. Everything is beautiful to someone, because we work on our own definitions. We live in our own worlds. And so we must dissect our definitions, our associations, and how we're defining ourselves and life. And when we start to change those things, then those things start to change for us, and we start to experience them differently. So we need to get the knowledge. We need to start studying ourselves. We need to start understanding our belief systems so we can figure out which ones aren't working, and when they're not working, we can change them. See, we have the power to do that. This is when it becomes a choice. This is when it becomes an option to make those choices. When you actually know what's in front of you and you know what's going on, then that awareness, you gain awareness, and awareness is key to life. When you gain awareness, you gain choice. Without that awareness, you don't have the option to make the choice. And that's why so many people don't realize, they don't believe, they don't feel like anxieties and depressions and things like that are choices. It's because they don't understand them enough to make the choice. They don't have the option yet. So knowledge is key. Knowledge, it leads to power. Knowledge about the self leads to self-empowerment. And you can't live an empowered life suffocated by anxiety and depression. You can't, because they're not part of that empowered life. Doesn't mean you're not going to experience times of sadness. That's just a normal human life experience. Doesn't mean you're not going to experience anxiousness. That's a normal human life experience. What it means is that you're no longer controlled by these things. That's what debilitation is when you're powerless over these things, when they consume you so much that you don't have a choice, and that you live your life based on overcompensations and based on this victim mentality. So we've got to step into the knowledge, which will bring us into a new understanding of ourselves, a new understanding of life. And when we step into that new understanding of life, we can then practice that. That's where the practicality comes in. Those are your three pillars: knowledge, understanding, and practicality. Now, when you start practicing these new things, these new choices, these new thought patterns, these new habits and patterns, when you start practicing those in your life, well, then we start to get different choices that we can make. We start getting different results in our life. And we start to realize, wow, I really have the power to change these things. I really can do this, and you can do this. I've done it. I'm not an exception to the rule. I'm not. I'm just like you. I'm just not where you are anymore. But I've been there, debilitated, anxiety, depression, panic attacks, feeling like I'm going to have a heart attack, debilitated, laying in bed, depressed, looking over at my gun, wondering, is it even worth it to stay here anymore? I've been there. It's sad. It sucked. It was so painful, so dark. But here I am on the other side because I made different choices consistently for my mental health to change the game. And let me tell you, it's a whole different world. It's a beautiful world. It can be for you as well. But it's going to take time. Don't expect it to happen overnight. Invest in your growth. Invest in becoming a different person, a different version of yourself. Living with a fixed mindset means that you think you can't change. Well, this is the way I've always been. There is no way you've always been. When you were a child, you were one way. When you were 10, you were one way. When you were 20, you were a different way. 25, a different way. You're different all the time. Life is always changing. You're never the same person. You don't stay the same person. Life doesn't stay the same for anyone. That's just a cop-out. That's an excuse because we don't have the knowledge. We don't have the understanding that things do change. Things can change. Things will change when you change things. But you have to change the internal things. You have to change those internal factors. You've got to believe in yourself. And that's not a feeling. You've got to stop living based on how we feel. Our feelings aren't accurate. When you think of a happy thought, you feel happy. You think of a sad thought, you feel sad. Your feelings, your emotion, they're nothing but your body's response to your thinking. They're there to let you know what you're predominantly thinking so that if it's not aligned with what you want it to be aligned with, that you can change it. There's that awareness that gives you a choice. That's why we call awareness the key to life. And your emotions are part of that process to bring an awareness to you so that you can use your free will and invest in things that are going to give you a greater return. And when you do this long enough, right? And I know it's tiring. I know it's a long ride, but it's the most worthy investment you'll ever make. It's the most worthy endeavor that you'll ever step into. Your mental health, your happiness, your joy, your peace, well, that's worth everything. That's worth everything. And when you become a person, a whatever it takes kind of person, you'll do whatever it takes. And that means doing whatever you got to do each day to get closer and closer and closer to that goal. Don't measure the distance. Don't measure the timeline. If it takes you 5 years, so be it. That means you're going to feel better and better throughout that 5 years, but that's the most worthy exchange of your time and your energy. Don't count the days. Let go of the days and just focus on taking as much of a step as you can right now. And then take another step as much as you can right now. And just keep doing that, because if you keep doing that, you'll progress, which means eventually you will get there. And let me tell you, if you can muster up the endurance, and you're going to face a lot of battles along the way, I guarantee you it's not going to be easy, but it's not easy now. I guarantee you it's going to be painful, but it's painful now. You can't avoid that. Trying to avoid it is one of the reasons why we keep going in these circles. It's because we're trying to avoid dealing with our stuff. But you can't. There's this old adage, people think time heals all. Well, look around you. Look at the older people. You really think that's true? If that was the case, the older we got, the happier we'd get. It's not the case. In fact, the younger we are, typically, the happier we are. Right? Life doesn't just get rid of your stuff for you. It's our job. It's our job to do that. And we must step into that. It is necessary. It's essential. It is vital. You deserve to be happy. You deserve to feel good. But you're going to have to fight for it. And I don't mean go out and fight those people that are doing you wrong. I mean stand up for yourself. Fight for your mental health every single day. And your battles are inside of your head. They're not outside of you. They may appear outside of you. And you might have to clean up some things outside of you. But your battles, they're inside. And you're facing them every day. Even if you're avoiding them, you're facing them every day because you're running. We can't run. You can't go anywhere. What are you going to do? You can't run from yourself. You can never get away from yourself. I tried that. Joined the military, moved across the country, 3,000 miles, and there I was. Dealing with all my shit. Doesn't work. Doesn't work. Our fears, our struggles, we got to face them. We got to take those steps. And life is going to support you more than you could ever imagine. When you start stepping up and facing your stuff, life is going to support you more than you could possibly ever imagine. But hang on, because it's going to be a ride. It's going to be a difficult ride. But that's okay. You can make it. You can do it. I believe in you. I don't even have to know you to believe in you because I believe in the human potential. What's different from everyone else, from yourself? What's different? Nothing. Belief systems, mindset. Focus on that. If you want anxiety and depression to be a choice for you, and it can be, it's not a matter of whether it can or not. It's a matter of whether you will make it or not. You know, look, you can desire the changes all you want, but if you're not willing to make them, nothing will change. And that's just the truth of the matter. But we know this. I know this. You know this. We all know this. This isn't new. But if you want anxiety and depression to be a choice, then you have to invest in yourself. You have to believe in that possibility. You got to start gaining that knowledge. Read. I got some books out there. There's many books out there. There's lots of things online. Read. Learn. Open your mind. Hold on loosely. And start to recognize that, you know, your current belief systems and the things that you're doing, though you may fight to hold on to them, they're not really working that well for you. The ones that are, keep them. Keep the ones that are working, but be willing to let go of the ones that aren't working. Be willing to change them. I know it's scary. It's a lot of uncertainty, but that's okay. You were okay before you gained those beliefs. You'll be okay with different ones. Try it on. You deserve it. Give yourself the benefit of the doubt. Recognize you are resilient, that you've gotten through everything you've ever been through. You're undefeated. Yeah, I know you've lost some battles, but you're undefeated. You've never lost the war. You're still fighting. You're still here. Nothing's ever taken you out. Believe in yourself. Doesn't matter if you feel it or not. Believe in yourself. That's a choice. Choose to believe in yourself. Choose to talk to yourself well. Choose to believe in the possibility that you can change. And when you do that, and you invest in the knowledge, and you gain a new understanding, and you bring that into your world, your whole world's going to change. And it's going to be beautiful. And you're going to experience peace and love and joy like you've never known. The world is beautiful. But it's up to us to see the beauty in the world. I believe in you. It's your time to rise. It's your time to shine. There's no better time than now. I wish you much love, much success on your journey.